here is Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
Fourth and goal to go with the 2. 34 seconds left to go in the ball game. This is the play right now. Takes the snap. Targeted goes in. Targeted all alone. And the quarterback keeps. Wow, what a call. Nobody touched him.
All right, then I saw this article here, how Abdul Carter opens up the Giants defense. Now, this is kind of in this article here, it kind of talks about how, like Shane Bowen, when he was with the Titans, he used a certain player, right? Maybe not quite as good as an Abdul Carter, but how he used like somebody who was like an off-ball linebacker, different positions and all that on the field. So that's the one thing that, without question, Mr. Bowen is under a lot of pressure. To me, I don't, tough to say, but you got because I think Kafka, I think it's his last year. I think he's under contract. I think just this year. I think that's it. But you got Shane, you got Thibodeaux, and you got Bowen. When the season's over with, right? Thibodeaux and Shane, they're not tied at the hip anymore. They're their own entities. They're their own LLCs, right? The end of the season, whatever. We win 6 games, whatever, right? 6 games, 7, whatever. Mara's going to sit down. It's like, has Shane provided Thibodeaux with enough quality talent to win some football games? And are we building something here? We got the defense, right? Are we building something here? And the answer is yes. Well, Shane might keep his job, even if we only win 6 games or whatever. And it's like, and he's got to look at Thibodeaux. But also some of it with Thibodeaux too is it's like they finally got their quarterback. How much did Dart get in there? How much did he play? Did he play 3 games, 4 games? Well, he's going to need more time than that. Is he the real, because one of the worst things you want to do is then get rid of Shane and Thibodeaux or whatever and have Dart here and have a new coach and GM come in and they're like, I don't want Dart. He ain't my quarterback. You got to get another quarterback. I mean, you don't want that. So you got Shane, you got Thibodeaux, but I'll tell you what, Mr. Bowen, I'm not saying we got to be the top unit in the league. I'm not saying we got to be a top 10 unit, but I'll tell you, we're not close to 10. We're not 11, 12, maybe 13 the most. I'm sure there are other qualified candidates out there that can get a lot better production from this Giants defense. If we're like 17, 18, 19, 20 something, whatever, Bowen's under a lot of pressure this year. A lot of pressure. But so this article is from SI.com. This is from Brandon Olson. How the New York Giants first round pick Abdul Carter opens the defense. Abdul Carter is the key to the pass rush domination. Much of the debate surrounding the Giants' use of 3rd overall pick in the 2025 draft centered on how the team would utilize him on the field. With both Burns and Kayvon already under contract, Burns being a high-paid veteran and Kayvon the 5th overall pick in the 2022 NFL draft, the question was valid. You got that right. Especially since we picked up his 5th-year option. So, we got Kayvon for 2 more years. And, hope he stays healthy and all this stuff. And all right, you pick up his 5th-year option. That means quite possibly you might want to sign him long-term. Right? So that's about where the validity ends, though, as Carter's skill set answered the question and his talent justified the selection. Burns and Thibodeaux will likely live on the edge, but that doesn't mean there's going to be an issue getting Carter on the field. Absolutely freaking not. And there's a picture. There's a cool picture. They got Burns, They got Abdul Carter and they got Kayvon on one picture. Nice. Carter can play almost any spot in the front seven. I mean, that's just scary. The one thing is that, obviously with him, it's going to be, you put him anywhere. His thing is that, if right, somebody gets his hands on him, like a guard or something like that, what can he do to get out of that? Now, he's got the 5 Ds of dodgeball: dodge, dive, dip, duck, and dodge, right? The 5 Ds, going around a tackle, he's got the moves and all this stuff and everything. So sometimes it's the tackle's backing up, but it doesn't mean the tackle's going to be able to get his hands on him or something like that, But there is a point in time where they don't send him in off the edge. They send him in, up the middle, right? If somebody gets their hands on him and they latch on him, is he going to be able to get out of there? I'll have to wait and see. Carter can play almost any spot on the front seven, and based on the first few weeks of OTAs, that's exactly how defensive coordinator Shane Bowen plans on using him. For the first 2 years of Carter's time at Penn State, he was an off-ball linebacker that would occasionally rotate down to the edge. That whole time as an off-ball linebacker, Carter was still rushing the passer and producing at an elite rate. But this is college, right? As they say in the pros, every week you're playing against Alabama in the pros, right? You're not playing Chuck E. Cheese Tech. You're not playing Ball State, right? So he had 28 pressures in 2023 on just 112 rush reps. That's freaking bananas. I mean, that's 1 out of every 4 pass rushing attempts. He had a pressure, 1 out of 4. That's freaking crazy. So basically, at that rate, if he was on the field for 448 pass snaps, which is possible, he would have what was it, 23? He'd have 112 pressures in the season. That's freaking bananas. That's freaking bananas. But right, you're thinking you got Kayvon over here, you got Sexy Dexy up the middle, right? I'm dying to see what Goldston can do. Dying to see what Alexander can do, right? And you got Burns is just a freaking maniac. That guy is unbelievable too. And you put Carter in there too. Woo, whew, man. Let's see. He registered a pressure rate of 25% on his pass rushes, which is just crazy. Right. 2024 season was the first time Carter lined up as a full-time edge rusher, occasionally rotating to an off-ball position, and he was the focal point of the defense. No kidding, right? Absolutely. Carter would register 66 pressures in 2024, the second most for any player in college football, and was just 2 pressures behind the leader, even with Carter having 56 fewer rush opportunities. So come on. If he had 56 more rush opportunities, we definitely would have had more than just 2 pressures. So he would have been the leader in college football. So it's just crazy. Well, the question of how would the Giants use Carter was a valid one, very valid one. The answer is simple. He can do it all. Right? So, as I said, one of the things, obviously, you got to be honest here. Those last 2 seasons were brutal. 6 wins, and it wasn't so much the 6 wins. It came at the year before that we were 9-7-1, and you like to build on that, right? So at least 9-7. Can we get to 10 wins or something? Nope, down to 6, and it was like we went from 6 down to 3. I mean, just brutal. But what we did do, right? I mean, I don't know of anybody out there. Well, I apologize. There will be some Giant fans out there, I do apologize, who complain about the Malik Neighbors pick because we could have taken a quarterback. So we could have took Penix, we could have took McCarthy, we could have took, yeah. So there are, I've seen that. So I've seen people out there complaining that we, instead of taking Malik, we could have took a quarterback. I've seen that. But for the most part, not many people are going to complain about the Malik Neighbors. I mean, the dude is just freaking bananas. Guy's bananas, right? So that was our little reward after our 2023 season. Then our little reward after the 2024 season is hopefully Abdul Carter. Just kind of the way it was. Now, I'm not saying he's the same or he's going to be as good or better, but after the 1980 season, actually from 1964 to 1980, where the Giants didn't make the playoffs at all, our little reward was in 1981. We got ourselves Lawrence Taylor. So it stinks having a horrible season, obviously, but it's nice to have a reward in the draft. But you have to make those rewards in the draft. They have to pay off. It's like, you can't have a crappy season, right? In 2014, right? And in 2015, you get pick 9 in the draft and you take Eric Flowers. And you can't have a crappy 2015 season, and then the 2016 draft, you take Eli Apple with the number 10 pick, right? What we did with, Kayvon, would I like Kayvon at pick number 5? Would I like him to be a little more productive? Yeah, absolutely. But to me, is he a bust? No. Taking the number 7 pick, and you got Evan Neal, and it's like, I don't know, can the guy play? I don't know. That's not good. Right? So we're going to see if he can play guard. But, we have been rewarded with Malik Nate, one guy on each side of the ball, with Carter, although he hasn't played a snap yet, but Malik and Carter, I think, and, we have ourselves a very nice defense. For Bowen, this wouldn't be the first time he has an edge rusher that lines up all over the formation as a defensive coordinator. In 2021 and 2023, with the Titans, Bowen had edge rusher Harold Landry take snaps as an off-ball linebacker, slot corner, and even deep safety. Wow. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine Carter as a free safety? This pass rush with Carter thrown into the fold is not about Burns, Kayvon, and Carter cannibalizing each other for snaps. It's about finding ways to utilize all 3 of them to pressure the quarterback. Absolutely. I bet you Wink would have a freaking field day with these guys. With Wink blitzing different guys and dropping guys into coverage. Wink would probably have a field day with these guys. All this is also without mentioning Dexter Lawrence as well as rookie 3rd-round pick Darius Alexander on the interior. But let's not forget about Golston, too. Right? Giants have already experimented in practice with putting the 3 edge rushers on the field at the same time, with Burns and Kayvon on the edge and having Carter line up as a 4-eye. Right? Crazy. Now, there is a video here that they've shown where Wilson's dropping back. He gets the pass. He drops back. And within 2 seconds, you got, I think it was Kayvon. I think it's Burns and Abdul. There's 3 guys right in his face. Burns, Carter, and Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon down on the same defensive line is going to be straight terrifying. Yeah. So, and the beautiful thing about that is that you don't know, right, which way they're going to come, right? This pass rush unit has the potential to be the best overall in 2025. And the way to get there is by putting the triple threat of Burns, Kayvon, and Carter in the best position to succeed at the same time. And I said that's going to be up to Bowen. He's got his work cut out for him. Right? I'm just dying to see who we add in the draft next season. If we take a 1st-round pick or 2nd-round pick, right? On defense, where's it going to be? Who's it going to, do we add another pass rusher early on? Oh, and maybe another defensive lineman, right? If we have Alexander, you had Dexter Lawrence, and then in the 2nd round, you draft another defensive lineman. Oh, nice. Because let's not forget, okay, you have to prepare, unfortunately. This is sexy. It's going to be a 7th season. Now, I'm not saying the guy's over the hill. I'm not saying this is his last year. But somewhere along, we've seen him over with pretty much with the Godfather, Mr. Patterson, coming in here and helping him out. Dexter is just taking off. Dexter is up here, right? But there's going to start being a time, unfortunately, sadly, much as this pains me to say it, where Dexter's going to start, right? And seventh season, right? Doesn't mean he can't play for a few more years. Certainly does not mean it. Certainly does. I mean, if he starts playing really well here, and if he can stay healthy, certainly doesn't mean he can't play for a few more years without question. But we're going to want to start, preparing for that day, right? Get some depth at their defensive tackle. So maybe if Dexter goes into his 8th year or 9th year or whatever, and maybe bring his snaps down, right? We can have some good defensive linemen on there to take his place, who maybe may not be as good as him, but it won't be a big drop off. You don't want to have Dexter out there and then put me in there the next snap. It's like, it's basically having nobody on the field. So you got to start preparing somewhere along the line for the year where Sexy Dexy maybe isn't so much on the Giants, but where Sexy Dexy's not the best in his position. And if he starts coming down quite a bit, so we're going to have to, unfortunately, sadly, prepare for that.